2016 to 2017 Harley-Davidson 48. Stripped-down Sportsters have progressed beyond the days of the $4,995 Sporty, into what has become a blank canvas for designers at Harley-Davidson. Each new model seems to gravitate toward a specific design edict, be it historical, custom or some combination thereof. The Sportster 48 is no exception, as it reaches back to the 1970s and beyond for inspiration. I like to see these somewhat special bikes. They pay homage to their roots, but aren't slaves to any specific model. So far, the special sporties have been relevant, and it seems the designers aren't jumping the shark quite yet, so I look forward to the next concept. Meanwhile, let's take a look at what makes the 48 so, well, 48ish. Continue reading for my review of the Harley-Davidson 48. The fuel tank serves as the primary design feature and lends the bike its name, sort of. Behold the peanut tank. We first saw this tank in 1947 and made its production bike debut on the 1948 Harley S125 Hummer, with appearances throughout the XL family history. In a move that was perhaps a little too authentic, the factory trimmed the tank down to a mere 2.1 gallons. Granted, it does have the right look, but I will stick to my 3.3 gallon, peanut-like tank, thank you very much. Designers then leaped to the custom culture of the 1970s for the rest of the rolling chassis. Cut-down fenders, lowered suspension and Harley's dark custom touches take this ride right back to the Death to Disco era. In fact, the only part of this sled that isn't either black or chrome would be the badged, or flamed, namesake fuel tank, just a splash of color to draw the eye to the bike's showpiece feature. The slammed handlebars and forward foot controls put the rider in an aggressive, forward-leaning, windsock position ready to dip head and shoulder into a turn. This is actually a comfortable riding position, and it shifts your weight forward over the bike's center of mass for surprisingly nimble cornering. If you're a reader that lives in the more northern climates where you have to store your bike for months out of the year, you'll appreciate the battery tender harness added as standard equipment for the 2017 model year. A one-piece engine and transmission unit dictates frame design, so the factory started out with its usual tubular steel, dual downtube, dual cradle skeleton. The steering head is set for 30.2 degrees of rake to give 5.3 inches of trail, perfect for the fat, 16-inch, 130/90 front tire. Robust 49mm front forks reinforce the beefiness afforded by the front tire, and the rear shock comes with a screw adjuster for easy preload adjustment. Suspension at both ends comes slammed to the max for a low, 26.2-inch laden seat height and 3.9 inches of ground clearance. Of course, not only does this lower the overall center of gravity, but it also looks really boss with the fat, 16-inch wheels. Disc brakes bind the hoops, but the front wheel only gets a single caliper. At 551 pounds soaking wet, it is almost heavy enough to justify going with dual front brakes. ABS is available as an option, just bear in mind that it will lengthen your minimum braking distance, the price you pay for traction protection. Harley used its time-tested, 1,200cc engine to power the 48. Love it or hate it, the Evolution engine has paid its dues and shown itself to be a mill with staying power. The beating heart is based on the original Evo Sporty motor released back in 1986, just with a few added features to keep up with changing regulations and customer demands. The engine comes blacked out with chrome accents at the rocker boxes and pushrod tubes, and the small, round air cleaner can falls under the 70s custom category. It ain't all for show. The air-cooled fuel-injected, long-stroke engine cranks out 70.8 pound-feet of torque at 3,500 revolutions per minute for plenty of grunt out of the hole and brisk acceleration once you get into the power band. Power funneled through the 5-speed, constant mesh transmission goes to the rear wheel via a fiber-reinforced belt drive. Overall gearing leaves the rider with fairly comfortable revs on the highway, and a combined mileage of 48 miles per gallon. As usual, Harley charges a bit more for the really sharp paint, but the price difference is negligible given that the fuel tank represents the entirety of shot sheet metal on the bike, if you don't count all the non-optional black. For 2016, get your peanut tank shot in vivid black for $11,199, or upgrade to the olive gold, velocity red sunglow or billet silver for a mere $350 more. Even the top shelf, hard candy gold flame and hard candy Kanken blue flake colors are reasonable at just one more bill for a $11,649 sticker. Add $100 to those prices for the 2017 models. ABS will set you back $795, and the security option another $395. Sorry California, you are on the hook for an additional California emissions package, another $100 even. Wanted to stay in the American market, and the Bolt from Star seemed too obvious a target, so I picked the 2016 Scout from Indian Motorcycles for my head-to-head. Let's get the engine stuff squared away straight off the bat. The 48 comes out on top, barely, with a 1,200cc, 73.4 cubic inch, displacement over 1,133cc, 69 cubic inches, for the Indian. While the Indian cranks out 1.4 pound-feet more for a total of 72.2 pound-feet, you have to wind it up to 5,900 revolutions per minute to find it, quite a bit higher than the Sporty at 3,500 revolutions per minute. Both sport fuel injection, but the Indian gains a slight advantage in the drivetrain with an extra gear in the transmixer for a total of 6 forward gears. Not as good as overdrive, but lots of close ratio gears to take advantage of the Indian's high-strung power band. The Indian is a bit more capable in the corners with a 31-degree maximum lean angle, but the Sporty isn't far behind at 27.1 degrees, not stellar, but not bad as far as Sporties go. I always liked Sporties, and this one is just as cute as a bug. The minimal paint leaves this ride looking primal and bare, perfect for a custom project or riding as is. I can tell you as a rider of a Lowered Sporty that the low center of gravity makes the bike just dive into the corners with enthusiasm. Keep the revs up in the power band and you have yourself a right lively little ride. My wife and fellow rider, Alan Hinton, says, I like the dark custom influence on the 48. It's a lean and mean looking cruiser with that whole don't mess with me vibe. I really like the undermount mirrors. That gives the handlebars a bare look that just looks meaner than having antennae sticking up in the air.